All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. All right, so we are going to talk about the fight business and we're going to talk about missed opportunities. That's what we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about Jon Jones specifically and then some others that I'll probably think of on the fly. But before we get into that, I have an announcement, okay? This is MMA only now, okay? I'm gonna create another channel. I'll talk about other stuff. Because bottom line is I am, as I'm going to allude to in this video talking about promotion and the way that you can make more money as a fighter, I come from a world of business, and the way that you make good decisions in business is you base it on metrics, and metrics-driven decisions are the right ones. I lost subscribers yesterday, okay? So I'm watching my subscriber base every single day, okay? Yesterday and the day before, I came out whoa! Jeez, people driving fast. I went net negative yesterday and the day before. Now, we're talking like net negative 2 or 3 subscribers, but I had never had a negative day before, ever. And I had 2 in a row. The only thing that's different is that I started talking about other stuff. So, okay. Now, because the way I'm looking at it, so since we talk about business and MMA, here's how I look at that decision, okay? People who like that I'm talking about other things are going to go subscribe to the other channel. Right? If you like the content on both sides, you're gonna go subscribe to the other channel. People who don't like it will just unsubscribe. So it's a no-brainer decision, right? I just separate them, and everybody gets what they want. So that's gonna happen going forward. Speaking of which, if you like the content, subscribe, ring the bell, etc. So let's get into it. So yesterday, I had a conversation with one of the certainly top 5 MMA managers. Period. I mean, this guy's got dozens of fighters, multiple champions. He's a stud, okay? And we were talking, obviously, like I'm having a conversation with him, asking him for access because I have this chicken or the egg thing where obviously this channel is going to be huge. The way I can accelerate that is access to fighters, but to get access to fighters who are getting requests constantly, they have to make a decision on who to give it to. And if you're getting 2,000 views a video, you can't put yourself at the top of the list currently unless you give him a reason to. So that's kind of the basis of our conversation. He's stud. We got along. We'll do business. But what we were talking about kind of, when we were just BSing is we're talking about like the gap in promotion, the way that people can promote. And this is not a manager thing. Like this is not something managers can do for fighters. This is something fighters are failing to do for themselves. And that is to properly promote their fights, create a story around the fights. And what the genesis of this particular example I'm going to use, because I was having this conversation yesterday, and then later I watched a video that Chael did, and he was talking about how Jon Jones basically views his job as sign a contract, show up, fight, win, and that's it, right? That is Jon Jones's job as he understands it. And Chael is saying, like, that's not your job. That's not your job. Your job is your next job, right? Like it's more important to have a job tomorrow than it is that you had a job yesterday, right? So that's great that you won. Well, what are you doing next? Now, Jon Jones currently clearly has enough money in the bank that he's not super worried about an imminent fight. However, if you look at the lay of the land for Jon Jones, where's a big fight for him, right? There are 2 that exist. Daniel Cormier, and that's completely up to Daniel whether he fights Jon Jones. Everybody wants him to, but he might not. He probably won't, as a matter of fact. That's kind of what Chael was saying. And then you have Israel Adesanya. Now, why is Israel Adesanya a big fight for Jon Jones? Is it because he's a champion in another weight class? Probably, part of it. But is that why everyone would tune in? No. It's because they've created a story. Because those 2 have gone back and forth on Twitter. Those 2 have created a beef, right? They've got a problem. And this is the thing, it's so obvious. Like, where does that problem come from? Okay? If Jon Jones and Israel Adesanya are best friends in real life, how would we possibly know the difference between that and them being bitter enemies based on their Twitter exchanges? Okay, there's no way to know the difference as a fan, as a person who's going to purchase the pay-per-view. You have no idea what is actually going on behind the scenes. They could literally be calling each other and being like, all right, so here, I'm going to tweet, I don't know, I'll call you a juice monkey, you call me a skinny, whatever, and then I'll say that I'm going to knock you out in the first, and blah, blah, blah. Or they could just have 2 guys, they're like, here's the guy that manages my Twitter, here's the guy that manages my Twitter, here, you guys create a beef or whatever. Okay, we're going to go grab a drink. Okay? Like, this is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. If just literally, like what everybody says, it's like, if you want to fight, just point at a guy, and if he points back and says, yeah, I'll fight you, then boom, you fight. So like, I don't understand. Like, this is all I do. Like, I've been doing it. Like, I've literally been doing this for like 3 months. Okay, I started in April. So April, May, June, or 4 months now, July. 4 months. 4 months I've been on YouTube trying to do this. I've already coordinated, like, you know, I've got an interview with a UFC fighter today. I've already done 2 UFC interviews. Like, I have another interview with another podcast later today. I talked to a manager yesterday, and I'm doing this while I still have a full-time job, and I'm nobody right now. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, this is going to be a huge channel, but right now, like, how many channels do you think there are that are talking about MMA and have under 10,000 subs? A billion? Okay, so if I can figure out a way to get in contact with these guys and get them to talk to me, how hard do you think it is if you're in the UFC to get in touch with other UFC fighters, have a common sense conversation like, look, hey, you need a fight, I need a fight. Let's create a beef. Let's create a problem. Let's go back and forth on Twitter and let's make some extra money. Let's build let's build our profiles together. Like, you already have the platform, right? You already have the platform. Just do a little bit of work. Just, like, you know how many people would volunteer to manage your Twitter if you're a UFC fighter? If you don't feel like dealing with it? Anybody, right? Anybody. And just do a couple interviews. Find a smart person who's going to manage your Twitter and just be, I mean, hello? You could have the same guy manage both Twitters. Just be like, here, just, you know, go back and forth, create the beef, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's this common sense. And so with Jon Jones, he has the most obvious match right in front of him that would be a home run, sell a ton of pay-per-views, and he's not taking it on. Dominic Reyes. Call the guy. Dominic Reyes seems like a pretty cool dude, right? He looks like a sharp guy. I've seen him in interviews. He's smart. He's cool. He looks like a guy that you could go have a beer with and then get in the octagon and go full throttle and have a great match against. So why don't you get on the horn with him and create a beef? Like, create a problem. Build it up. You have a big enough name, Jon Jones, that you need to like, you want to create a big fight? All you have to do is just shine your light on a guy. That's it. Like, just shine your light on one guy and say, like, you decide who you want to fight and shine your light on him and say, that's my next guy. And then you talk to him and you're like, all right, let's create a beef. Because in order for you to sell pay-per-views, you need the other guy to have light on him. But you can do that anytime you want. All you have to do is just talk about him. So create your own enemy, right? And Dominic Reyes, people think that he may have beaten you in your last fight. This is 1 + 1 = 2, fight business. You want more money? Go get it. Instead of asking for it, hustle for it. Is this, am I not making sense here? Like, this seems like 100% common sense. Shine your light on the person you want to fight so that more people are like, oh man, I didn't realize that Dominic Reyes fight was so close. If they didn't see the last one. And if they did, and they don't really care about Dominic Reyes, turn him into a big deal. You know, Khamzat Chimaev has been in the UFC for 15 seconds, and he's got the game figured out better than all of you guys, right? Talk about the people. He's kind of going the opposite direction where he is Dominic Reyes, right? He gets a little bit of shine on him, and so he shines his light at the biggest guys, which, you know, amplifies his light. But, like, he understands the game. Jon Jones, dude, I get it. No one is questioning that you are probably the most talented and successful fighter, you know, in the history of the sport, if not, you know, aside from maybe Khabib. No one's ever beat you, you know, but like, the money is right there. You're asking for more money. It's right there. It is right there. I mean, and if you don't want it to be, you don't want it to be Dominic Reyes, make it Jan Blachowicz, right? No one knows who he is. So let him know who he is. Get in touch with his camp. Create a beef. You know, get on Twitter and say, like, now this is personal. Do an interview, you know? Like, you can fake it. You've been faking it forever, right? Do whatever you do when you pretend like you're somebody else, except just do it on camera and make yourself angry. Listen. It's been a long time since I've been motivated for a fight. This man has crossed the line in a way that he can't go back from. This is not Jon Jones point fighter. This is Jon Jones break your skull fighter. I'm going to hurt this man. If this guy gets out of the second round, I'll consider that a loss. I want to send him to the hospital. I want him to have a 9-month medical suspension after this fight. That's basically my goal. Finish him in 2, 9-month medical suspension. That's what I'm going for, because this guy, This guy is a problem that I need to solve. And I owe that to my family for what he said. You know, have Jan say some, you know what I mean? Like, all you have to do is just have Jan say something about your family or whatever, and then that's your response, and then boom, people are like, damn, dude, did you see Jon Jones? He said he wants to put him in the hospital and give him a 9-month medical suspension. He's gonna hurt this man. He's gonna hurt him, dude. That's old Jon Jones. Let's go. Hey, dude, are you getting the fight tonight? Wait, you didn't see Jon Jones' promo? He said he's gonna break this guy's skull, man. This is a fight you have to get, man. Common sense. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know who's figured that out? Colby and Masvidal. Seems like they solved that riddle a long time ago. And the reason, and listen, like I was surprised actually when apparently, Colby and Tyron were probably already in talks, once Jorge lost to Kamaru. But I think that those guys are probably not going to fight until one of them has the belt. They know, listen, like if neither Colby or Jorge ever gets a hold of the belt, that would be surprising to me. And certainly they got to take a run at it over the next few months. And that fight is always there for them. The beef fight is always there. As long as neither of them, as long as one of them doesn't get like knocked out twice in a row or something, like that fight will always matter. And the upside in that fight, should one of them win the belt, is just astronomical. Astronomical. So, listen, like if they, let's say that Jorge Masvidal and Colby actually have a real beef, like they have a real problem. Let's say that's the case, right? They still have made it public, right? I'll tell you right now, if I have a guy who is literally like my best friend, okay, and then we have some kind of disagreement, I'm not going to the press about it unless I'm going to benefit from that financially, right? Like, dude, you got to understand who these, like, look at these people, look at who they are. Like, look at Jorge Masvidal. This is a guy, he is a guy who runs with the code, okay? Now, I believe that he actually legitimately did not like Ben Askren, and the reason for that is because Ben Askren went in the press and was like, yeah, I whipped George Masvidal's ass in wrestling and training. I believe that really made him angry. And that's because that's code. You don't go train with a guy, especially as like a guest trainer in someone else's gym, and then go brag about how you worked him over in whatever. That's something you don't do. Simultaneously, this kind of thing, personal problems, if it's real, tight to the chest. It's not the kind of thing that you're going to go out and yell about it unless you're going to benefit from it financially. Jorge is incredibly smart, super calculated. He's playing the game. So whether the beef with Colby is real or not, that's why it's public. And Colby obviously is doing a whole thing. Like he's got beef with everybody supposedly, and maybe it's real and maybe it's not. But it doesn't matter. The point is, the reason why it's public is because he's going to make money from it. So I do not understand how people are looking around the industry and do not see how obvious this play is. Everyone is like 6 tweets from a well-promoted fight. If you have if you have shine it on another guy, right? If you have an opponent that isn't as big as you, shine your light on him. You're not making your own light smaller. You're only increasing theirs. You're only helping it. Like that's the thing. I think that there's a misunderstanding that people think that like it's like the rap game. Like if you have a beef with a guy and you talk about him in a song, that you're actually helping him. Okay, and you're like there's only so much money for people to spend on rap albums or something, right? And that probably is the case with rap beef, right? Like if I'm Ja Rule, 50 Cent's coming up before he's a big deal, I don't want to talk about him because I don't want people to know who he is. I don't want to help his career. Totally understand. Okay, but in mixed martial arts, first of all, the beefs are not going to be real 98% of the time if you're doing what I'm talking about. And by shining a light on him, all you're doing is giving people more reason to watch the sport, right? Like if they know another fighter and they're interested in that fighter, like the more fighters people know, the better off everyone is. It doesn't hurt your pocketbook. It helps everyone. And it's going to hype your fight. So anyway, that is what I have. I don't understand why people are not taking advantage of that. It's common sense. So if you like the content, subscribe, ring the bell. Peace, 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 peace.